Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro, and it's time to review Longlegs, directed by Osgood Perkins. It stars Micah Monroe as an FBI agent who is investigating a serial killer, who is played by Nicolas Cage. And it's also a horror movie, and not even in the way where Silence of the Lambs is like, it's kind of a horror movie, or Seven and Cure are kind of horror movies, but you don't really know for sure if you'd put them in that box. I think this is more firmly in that box, for reasons I won't get into, but also the presentation of the film is overwhelmingly in the horror genre. The movie really seeks to get under your skin with every shot and editing choice and sound choice. My favorite part about this film was the mastery of tone and making you on edge whenever the character is alone, checking the corners of the screen, trying to look out the windows to see if something is lurking. And the wide-angle photography really lends itself to that. The sound is also working hard, even in quieter scenes, to make them extremely tense. Sometimes the sound feels like it oversteps and it tries to make a little bit of a jump or a scare out of something that isn't anything, but for the most part I really appreciate that the movie's just trying to keep you on edge. And throughout the film I just felt very in suspense. I loved trying to guess where it was going to go, and my brain was coming up with many twisted interpretations for what could be happening here. There are a lot of elements that I was having fun running with because this is very much a mystery. The puzzle that the detective is trying to put together is very psychological, and it's merging with some part of her history, and it's getting personal. And I like when horror movies are trying to be deeply psychological. But at the same time, I'm not totally over the moon. I don't love it as much as I wanted to, because this is very much the kind of horror movie that I'm very primed to love. And it will definitely intrigue those who love Hereditary, as I do. But I also feel like the area of Hereditary where I kind of fall out with the movie, which is the very end, I have the exact same problem here in a slightly different way. I, unfortunately, didn't come away with the film feeling oh my god, that got so deep under my skin, it went right into my subconscious. And the ending felt a little bit like okay, I can't do as much with that as I wanted to. And I do think I have a firm understanding of what it's trying to do. The explanation of the kind of horror it wants to leave you with is almost too literal. It doesn't feel rooted in the psychology of the character. It just feels explained by this element that the movie wants you to buy into, and I just can't quite go there. And it kind of disappointed me the more I unpacked it. My goal with the film is I really want to get into this character's headspace who's experiencing this dread. I want to walk away feeling fucked up. I did feel like the movie was getting under my skin, mostly with the tone and the way it was crafted. I did think that Nicolas Cage's performance was very creepy. The movie in general is really spooky and creepy, and Micah Monroe's character is constantly on edge and sort of freaked out in a quiet way. And that resonated with the images on screen and the way that the character was framed. I actually didn't feel as chilled when the movie cut to black as I did in some earlier scenes. And I think it probably is what you're saying. Maybe the movie explained a bit too much of itself. It seeks to do a very similar thing that the movie Cure did, Kiyoshi Kurosawa's film, which highly, highly recommend. And the way that some people are coming away from this film saying it absolutely shook me to my core. It's that's what Cure did for me. And this movie didn't quite get there. I do think that there are some themes that are too lightly touched upon, there's something going on here with innocence and religious trauma. I'm kind of okay with that being a light touch. But it seems like a lot hinges on it, and I don't know if the movie really went too detailed on it. I actually am open to a second viewing and seeing if paying attention to some of the details will help me see the deeper picture a bit clearer. Or maybe I'll watch it again and I'll be sort of less convinced that the atmospheric dread is really matching up to what is established in the story. So there is something deeply horrifying in the story. It just never feels like it gets inside of the person. I actually think the whole conceit, the whole mystery and how it unravels, I think that is satisfying. I don't have a problem with the plot overall. I just think I would have liked a different transformation for the character. I would have liked that emphasized even more. I don't think there was a big change there. The thing that changed was a thing that was imposed. Production design, I thought, was pretty excellent. All the walls were just very dark, wooden color. I really enjoyed how it captures rural northern America. It makes me not want to go up there ever at night. Every room just had a creepiness to it. Yes, I thought the production design was just extremely well done. It was always creepy. It really dunked my head underwater and didn't let me come up until the movie was done. Like, there's
Yeah.
no levity, and I like that about the movie. I felt very immersed.
I actually want to talk about Nicolas Cage's performance. I feel two ways about this. I really like Nicolas Cage, and I think he is legitimately a great actor. You know, he's very versatile, and this film, they really let him do his own thing. And I can accept it for the movie, and I was very entertained by the performance, and at times I found it creepy. At times I was like, okay, it's inviting us to laugh with it, and it's sort of silly, but I felt like there was some very obvious mismatch, to the point where it had to be intentional, like, of course, but I don't know if the mismatch works in the film's favor or not. I think I could see this character being totally different and the film still works. All the other performances are different, and you know, the movie's atmosphere is different. Like, even the makeup on him just has this monster or unreality thing, whereas the rest of the film feels very grounded. I would empathize if you came away being like, you know, I don't know if that performance worked for me, or I just thought it was silly and I didn't want it to be silly, because, you know, the movie doesn't really seem to invite it, but like, there it is. I think it's very much a make of it what you will performance.
I mostly liked it just because it was so punctuated and it stands out so much. And the character's presence in the film is supposed to be felt off camera.
I could easily imagine this character more like an Anthony Perkins in Psycho, and the film still works perfectly well. Like, if you think about who he is. He could be a quiet, like, you look at him and you don't even think twice about who he is because he's so invisible. It could be that. And the character is the opposite.
I definitely agree they could have gone for that. They took a big swing going for a type of character that's pretty different. Maybe is trying to get under your skin in a different way. And I feel like we have seen characters like the ones you're describing. Like, there's definitely characters that you can think of in your mind that, like, okay, that might have worked here. But I do appreciate that they made a swing and try to do something else. I don't know if I can make perfect sense of how large it goes. Like, I don't know if it's entirely logical to do it, but it's at least interesting.
It's a matter of preference, really. But I think everyone should be able to agree that it doesn't really match the rest of the film. And then if you think that's good or bad, that is totally up to you. And Micah Monroe's performance, I liked. I didn't love it. I don't know what you feel about that, because I could see that she was very good in the movie. I also felt like maybe it wasn't the perfect casting, or it wasn't the perfect performance for that.
Sometimes I wondered if she was playing a little too, like, frightened all the time. But again, that was kind of a bold and out there choice. And I thought it worked for a movie that's pretty stylistically punctuated. I thought her performance invited the audience into her dread, and it made you wonder why she's like that. And then it kind of justified.
Well, sure, but I still don't feel like I understand why she's like that. Not completely.
I also think that I don't know if I completely understand that.
Here's what I think is maybe hard to buy about this performance for me. So it's very, like you were saying, it's very, like, jittery, always on edge. But, you know, you almost wonder if the person's facade would just be, like, very stone-faced. Like, if you think about an FBI agent, like someone who has to do this kind of cold job, I don't know if it would have been more believable for me to just see that character just put on a face more often. Because she's very competent, and I liked that about her, that she was smart, intelligent, competent. But also, people like that, they have the kind of persona down where you're not going to see the struggle. But with her, it's very much like on the surface. I think the film wants that to be there because it wants maybe even to just communicate very explicitly like the kind of things you're supposed to feel. But I don't know how believable it was all the time. But again, that's also a tone or directing choice. If you want to make the whole world feel like it's a little bit different and you don't want to add that reality, that's okay. You know, some people are going to like those choices. I really enjoyed myself watching it. I think the beginning is great. Like, the way that it starts out, like, putting you on edge and then sustaining it. You know, the editing was great throughout. It was well made, loved how it was shot, loved this kind of movie, didn't exceed my expectations.
I did really enjoy the movie. I was pretty thrilled and spooked with it throughout. I thought it was genuinely scary because of the atmosphere and the dread. For now, I'm like between a 7 and an 8. A little agnostic till I see it again, but a lot to like with this one, even if not blown away.
Yeah, I would give it a 7.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
What's the longest your leg has ever been?